Thank you, Larry. Good morning, everyone. Come on down and take your seats. Welcome to day 2 of the 2019 GoldLab Symposium. I'm thrilled and honored to be here. My name is Kevin Davis. I opened the conference back in 2011, I think it was, when I was speaking about my book, The $1,000 Genome. Haven't been too prolific since then, but furiously now working on a new book on genome editing and all things CRISPR related. So I hope in the next year or two I might persuade Larry to give me another invitation to talk about that. That's a fascinating subject, and if you have stories in that area, I'd love to meet you over the course of the rest of the meeting. On behalf of all the former speakers who've presented here over the last 9 years or so, I want to thank Larry for this generous invitation to come back and participate, or just sit in the back and answer emails. It's just a wonderful opportunity to come back and absorb so much spectacular science and provocative conversation. So thank you. I have just one conflict of interest slide I need to declare. In 1 hour, my beloved Watford Football Club are setting foot on Wembley Stadium's hallowed turf in the English equivalent of the Super Bowl. It's a David and Goliath story because the team they're playing are brilliant and are going to win 6-0 or something. So how I end up here of all days in the most important game in this club's history, I don't quite know. But anyway, so if you see me sobbing unconsolably later this morning, we've either won or we've lost or something, but it's a pretty sure thing. So you don't know Watford. It's a town just north of London where I was born, but you do know their number one fan. That's Reginald Dwight, better known as Sir Elton John. I think I had that shirt when I was a boy, and he still supports the team. He was the chairman for many years. He gave them tons of money when they were undergoing lean times, and I'm sure he'll be cheering them on. I saw my first game at Vicarage Road, the quaintly named Vicarage Road Stadium, when I was 7 years old. My dad took me, and 5 years later he died of testicular cancer. So there were no more Watford football games with father-son football games. And everyone here obviously has their own personal stories and lenses through which they will be watching and absorbing the talks today as we talk about cancer, early tumor diagnosis, and tumor DNA. We heard some great presentations yesterday and really exciting progress in treating cancer and learning about how cancer is so shifty and being able to evolve and avoid these new generation of targeted therapies. Today we want to talk more about how cancer and other diseases can be detected at the earliest possible moment to give us and you a better chance to tackle those diseases. My favorite quote in this regard comes from a British journalist who passed away from esophageal cancer, John Diamond. He was married to Nigella Lawson, the British celebrity chef. And John wrote in his memoir that by the time you reach age 40, your 30 trillion or so cells have each divided a few thousand times. How could it possibly not be that a few of those cells would band together in a state of cytological anarchy that leads to cancer and death? That's just such a haunting phrase, cytological anarchy. So I hope we hear some really exciting progress from our speakers over the next couple of hours. One quick story before we start the program. It's quite a fun story, I think. I think one of the most exciting and profound developments in cancer research over the past 20 or 30 years, from my perspective at least, was the discovery of the breast cancer gene, the BRCA1 gene, thanks to 15 years of absolutely heroic, amazing work by Mary Claire King, a geneticist who was then at Berkeley, now at the University of Washington, who, in spite of all of the skeptics and all of the naysayers, was convinced that somewhere in our genome there was a susceptibility gene that predisposed to breast and ovarian cancer, and she proved the skeptics wrong in 1990 when she mapped the gene, and then it set off a furious race to identify the gene, which was eventually isolated and patented by a company not far from here, just next door, in fact, Myriad Genetics in Salt Lake City. My first book was on this race. It was called Breakthrough, the race to find the breast cancer gene. It was a slightly sloppy affair, and it disappeared without a trace upon publication. But about 15 years later, I got a phone call out of the blue from a film director in Los Angeles a legit film director, and he said, we want to make a film, a true story, based on a true story, about the first woman in North America who underwent genetic testing for the BRCA1 gene. Her name was Annie Parker. The film's Decoding Annie Parker. And we want you to be the technical director, because I found your book in a thrift store or secondhand bookstore or something. And so I told my wife, oh my God, I'm going to Hollywood. This is great, I've made it. So I went to, well, not Hollywood, but Culver City, but whatever. And walked out with this big, stonking film script. I thought, this is going to be so exciting, how amazing. And I'd given my cell phone number to the director because he said, Helen Hunt, who's going to be playing Mary Claire King, she's going to want to call you and get inside the character. So I opened the script and started flicking through the pages. Whoa, the science scenes were pretty bad. And so I got my red pen out and started writing all kinds of edits. And when it came time for the conference call with the two script writers, I started my spiel and page 3, page 6, page 9, got to change this, change that. And they stopped me and said, look, sorry, Kev, hang on a minute. We've got 3 weeks to make this film. We've got no budget. Helen Hunt is available for 2 days. We're not making a Nova documentary. Get over yourself. Let's just go. Can we move this along, please? So you can